Welcome. I'm Miss Jill, and this week we are talking about good versus evil. So before we get started, tomorrow we're going to go deeper into good versus evil. Tonight we're just going to kind of skim the surface. I want to pose a question to the panel. Right off the dome, anyone who can answer first. Tell me something good right now that is happening in our nation.
Something good that is happening in our
Yes.
nation. I don't know. I don't know if you're a sports fan, but the WNBA draft was last night, and so many young ladies are fulfilling their dreams to be able to move on to a different level. I mean, it's good all the way around. We are out of the COVID protocols.
Okay.
I mean, all COVID protocols have been canceled. So, I mean, there's a lot good going on, Doc V.
Nearing the end of the school year for me.
I knew you were going to.
I actually was going to say that about COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm happy the way things are going with COVID. So to me, that's a good thing. But school,
Number one. Say it again.
yes, we're almost there. Hold on, teachers.
E, what's going on good in the nation right now?
Stocks going up.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't follow any of that. So that's a good sign though.
Yeah.
That means something's
Jobs
something's good.
are. They say the job market is steady,
Okay.
not declining. So it's a lot of good going on.
Okay, good. But we don't hear a lot about the good through the media. I mean, that's just the way it is. So for my good, my baby is 18 today, so I just wanted to say happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
to
Happy
Macy.
birthday, Macy.
So
Birthday.
with that being said, a 25-year-old bank employee in Louisville, Kentucky wrote a note to his loved ones and texted a friend yesterday and said, "I'm feeling suicidal. I'm going to go into the bank that I work and I'm going to kill everyone." So
Wait, you feeling suicidal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So within 3 minutes' time, approximately, he had already went into the conference room where there was a Zoom meeting being held by the bankers. And it was reported, it was rumored, and now they're debunking this, that for some reason he thought he was going to lose his job. So anyways, the police were there within 3 minutes. On the video, you could hear the shots being fired. And he killed, I believe, he opened fire, killing 5 people, injuring 8 others. The death toll could be going up. The gunman, identified as Connor Sturgeon, I'm sure you've seen his picture, a thin, white gentleman. It's crazy to me. So one of the things that I noticed is that, and I'm just going to get right into it. Connor was a graduate from the University of Alabama. Connor had a master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
Connor played football. He played basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It was reported that he had a series of concussions in football, so he had to wear a
CTs?
helmet, to play basketball. Okay, great. Mental health was mentioned, obviously. And I agree. Anybody who does that obviously has some sort of a mental health issue.
All right.
But before we get into it a lot, I mean, did you see any of the coverage? Are you super familiar with
Yeah.
what happened yesterday?
Yeah, I was actually watching some of the coverage, and I saw the manager, and it said that everybody, when something like this happened, it's like, I would have never thought
Yeah.
that that person would have done this, but it was real tragic because, as you said, I didn't know that the suicidal. But I did know that he walked in and it was a stressor. They did say that it was a stressor of the job and different things.
Mm-hmm.
And he was having some kind of problems at the job as well that they had glossed over. But it was just tragic because 8 was shot, 3 died.
I forget what the toll was. I think there was at least
No, I think it was 5 that time.
5 that
yeah,
died. But
5
8
were
was shot.
yeah. And it sounded like he just walked in there, and the crazy thing was these people were on a Zoom call. So the people from another building were watching their coworkers.
Right.
Literally, I mean, think about how traumatizing that is. Something I just want to bring up real quick, and then I want to make a point. So white mass shooters receive much more sympathetic treatment in the media than black shooters, according to a study that analyzed 219 attacks. Findings show that, this is interesting, white shooters were 95% more likely to be described as mentally ill than black shooters. So I'm familiar with mental illness, but here's what I want to say, and then we can discuss. Like I stated, Connor had a master's degree from the University of Alabama. So he was his mental illness allowed him to get a master's degree. It allowed him to be a football star, a basketball star. It allowed him to not work 1, 2, 3 years at the internship at this bank.
Right.
So is mental health, I mean, what can we say about that? As far as, I mean, I have a mental illness. A lot of people have a mental illness.
Right. Well, here's one thing, and the mental illness community, and they say this, that sometimes it doesn't happen until later in life. Like they say, schizophrenia doesn't show up until you're between averagely 25 and 35.
True.
You show signs up and before then, but it really does not manifest in between the ages of 25 and 35.
So
Or-
my question is this: how all of a sudden he has a mental illness?
Well, I was just going to say there's
Because-
also things
because-
that trigger.
Because you have to think about it. Like you said, this man have a master's degree. So if he has a master's degree, he studied 7 years in college. He did 3 years as an internship. So when he loses it, it's a mental defect. Black man does the same thing and will go through the same process. He's still labeled a thug.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I mean, at what point and at what time do we stop nitpicking and say, okay, this person had a mental disorder and this person is a thug?
Right, but I think it's going to be on individual basis because
It's all bases though. If you look
Right,
at it, it's just like the mass shooting that's happening in all these schools. It's an issue because it's in a certain community.
That's true.
You go in Chicago, you will have that many people killed in one
all
week.
the time.
Right.
In one day, and
Yeah.
oh, they thugs. Now this person that went into this school and shot 6 people. Oh, he has a mental dysfunction and this, that, and other. How do you have a mental dysfunction when you go and mass kill people?
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
That's my
go ahead,
question.
Doc V.
No. I just, I wanted to, I almost need to be reminded of what Jill's point was or question, but I'm going back to, what would make somebody that has this much education all of a sudden now they go I'll say the opposite direction,
Right.
so to speak, and
Right.
turn straight criminal. And the reason I said it depends on the individual because circumstances change.
Right.
And so the whatever that person was dealing with then, let's just say at a younger age, younger stage in his mental illness or his mental journey, health journey, could have been different circumstances. They have found even things like divorce with parents causes triggers and things to happen with young people. So we don't know the triggers that people are dealing with from day to day. I agree with E as far as, it being looked at different
Yeah.
when it depends on different cultures. But the facts are we don't know all of the things surrounding. So it could be premature for us to try to figure that out.
And like with E, and we'll never know because he's
Yeah.
dead. So it's not like we can ask him. And, like E said, though, my thing is you knew right from wrong all this time. And schizophrenia and psychosis could put you into a frame of mind like that. But schizophrenia and psychosis also does not come overnight. That is a very gradual thing where people would have noticed. And everyone they talk to, the neighbors, the co-workers. Now,
Right,
remember, the
right.
co-workers are irate with him. So they're not going to say things about him that
Right.
aren't true. So when they tell you they saw no signs, more than likely they did not. And that is the scary part.
Well, you mentioned some of the numbers, and I wanted to touch on with E as well. Give me an example of the last black mass shooter. That is a rarity. The last one I can think of is probably the DC sniper.
I was thinking
Right,
San
but-
Antonio DC snipers, but
I thought he was calling all of the shootings in Chicago.
well, I'm just saying.
I'm gonna
bad
hit my
days.
point. I'm gonna hit my point on it.
okay, go hit your point.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna hit you back.
No, and it's not.
But
Go
before
ahead,
y'all
Doc.
go too far into that, I want to say, just so we can be clear, a mass shooting is considered 4 or more.
Four.
Right.
Four, yeah.
Because we
Or
think
mo-
of like,
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not including the shooter.
The shooter.
So I just want to put that out there, and that's why E probably was leaning towards Chicago.
And I agree with E.
Okay.
But in it's in labels. Let's put that on it. It's in labels because 4 or more is a. Now, if there was 4 or more in Chicago, what is it called? It's not a mass shooting.
It's a drop
gang
bomb.
related.
Gang
Yeah,
related.
gang related.
Yeah.
Gang related.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's in the labels and what it is. The sympathy comes from, you know, who's writing the stories.
Right.
I can go back
There
to
we
the
go.
guy that killed the people in Denver, or was it Boulder, Colorado, at the Batman movie? Now, he told everybody, once again, and he was in sound mind before he did it, but when he was in court, they had him looking like he was sedated and, you know,
Yeah.
looking like, so it's all in the thing. Now, I understand, I really do understand mental illness because I know people that, you know, are legitimately dealing with it. And I think we all have some sort of mental defect because we're human.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all have something, but it's
Wait, pause.
okay.
When you say that, you looking at me like Martin Lawrence, like, Joey Newton
No,
told
no,
you wrong.
no.
Listen, the reason I say that, Clarence, because I know you going somewhere. When you said we all,
Yes.
it's gonna go back to what I said. Triggers.
You're
So when
right.
you say that, there's something. As when they say everybody has a breaking point. Okay, so that might fall in the mental disorder category. So
And I'm not disputing that, but here's the thing though, Doc V. As you are in every school, I'm not gonna say every school, but in most cases, even at home, there, especially now, since I think the late 90s, early 2000s, they've been teaching kids coping skills. That's a part of the curriculum. Am I not correct?
Yeah.
You are
Doc V?
absolutely
We're
right.
actually- we're
we have
giving
to
you
do wellness.
right. We're teaching you so these different coping skills in it. So if you are spend half your life with these coping skills, why aren't you using them as an adult? And why is it a certain group, you know, can be exonerated or placated versus when another group do it, it's, oh, that's just how they are.
Right. Or on
So if
paper.
they're teaching coping skills, and I want, can you just break it? Give me a little bit about the coping skills. How do they?
Well,
They
can you give an example? Because I
when
can give an example
they
from the
teach
mental
you how to
health
suppress
aspect,
the thought process of what's going on. Is that what the
Yeah.
coping skill is?
coping skills. I mean, sometimes helping you think through some things, or even giving you time, extra time to take some deep breaths, and no pressure, but allowing this person some freedom, some room, and you're not constantly, I'm gonna say, almost nagging. Like from a teacher's perspective, you have to know when to back up and when to allow that child time to just absorb what's going on and to
So
be
you
able to
giving-
cope with their atmosphere.
So you're giving that
And
child
so
time.
patience.
You basically giving them a open timeout.
an open timeout. That's a great way to put it. Because, those fidget spinners, y'all remember those?
Yep. That's what I was going to say for a coping skill.
Yeah, those fidget
To
spinners.
fidget with stuff.
Yeah, they were
Drawing.
those were they were actually for, but
Yeah.
and then there's
Like therapy.
therapy. There's distraction. Like I know this one kid we had.
So
He had like a
doodle
rubber
and
band.
draw,
Well, he
yeah.
had a rubber band that.
So
if
my
you got
question
a-
is, if you're giving them an open timeout and you're not letting them process the actual truth of what's going on, but you telling them, just take a deep breath, relax.
I had
No.
to do it today.
So
if
I
y'all-
mean, I'm just trying to get to the coping
that's
thought
what I'm telling you.
process.
I'm only saying that because I had to do it today with
Okay.
the shooting, the young man that was killed. So I don't want to talk about it because of family, and I don't want to
right,
go
the
there.
one at the apartments last night.
But see,
So
Okay.
I had students that had a situation today.
Right.
So I know I couldn't continue to push them to do the assignment that was on the table. I had to give them time to cope with what they were dealing with. And I could see that some of them needed to be taken away from the atmosphere. Some of them needed to be able to talk with each other. And some of them just needed to take some deep breaths.
Well,
so
I
there's
mean,
all different types of
can
coping
I answer? Because I think
skills for
because I'm
everybody.
finna go a whole nother route.
Yeah,
with
but
y'all going
but
with this.
there is especially in the mental health, there is a debriefing. There is you don't just let them go. Like I can give you 2 to 3 minutes, but then I come back and I engage you and debrief you, and then I help you. So, but in the heat of your crisis or whatever it is, you're not going to be rational or receptive to anything that is going to give you thought or change. So yes, no, I'm not going to give you 3 days. I'm gonna give you like a few minutes, then we're gonna debrief, and then we're gonna go back. Now that may take a couple of times to get you back on track, but no, I'm not just gonna let you not process it. That's what your question was. Am I correct?
Right.
Yeah, because that's what it sounds like. You're not letting the child
No.
or person process
No.
by having a. I mean, yes, you have to. Okay, I just for me, I'm sitting there listening about the guy that went in there and killed everybody, and now it's a mental illness, and y'all telling me about a coping situation that's what's going on. It sounds like it's almost like you bottling things up to a certain extent to say,
Some people do.
I was going to say.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where
Some people
that jar busts
Mm-hmm.
and all the demons pop out of that bottle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some
So
people
and
do.
versus sitting with that person or individual and having that conversation, having that tough conversation now to have to release.
Yes.
You get what I'm
You have
saying?
to dig the roots up in order to
Exactly,
find
right.
out
To
where
find
it's
out.
coming
And so in this coping situation, let's sit back and have a breather. It's like an open timeout. That's what it sounds like to me. And you know something, as we can tell and as we can see, it's not working.
Not
But
working.
okay, before Jill, before you go there, I just want to say you mentioned the demons, and I wasn't really going to go there because a lot of times people don't like to talk about the truth. So there's another side, and we will get into some of that tomorrow. But there's another side to the evil that's amongst us today. And so when we talk about the mental disorders that people are faced with, whether they were in college and they suppressed it, they hid it. I've
Yeah.
been through that.
Right.
People do that, and then it surfaces, whether that's it or they're possessed. The facts are the facts. There's a lot of things that's going on today that we are not calling what it is.
What it is. Mhm, what
And
it is.
so
We're looking for excuses instead of just saying.
yes, we want to make it sound
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And so we'll talk about it a
So
little bit heavier
we're gonna cope
tomorrow.
with it.
We are. We're having time out.
We're gonna have an open coping session.
So moving on a little bit, after the shooting prior to this one, where
in
the K through, was it 6th grade?
Yes. That's it.
The Covenant School. We don't have enough time to talk about that, but we say that to say this. So a lot of people were rallying for stricter gun laws, and again, we're not going to go into that a lot either. But Clarence, are you familiar with what happened after the Covenant shooting, as far as the representatives, the ones who
Ooh,
got
man.
expunged or
I'm all over that.
expelled,
You all over
and
that.
the
I'm
one
all
who
over
did
that.
not?
The
Yeah.
Justins.
Yeah,
Justins,
Justin
the
Pearson,
Justins.
Justin Jones.
Yeah.
Yes.
And forgive me, I'm missing the lady's name. What was her name?
Her name, I believe, was Gloria Johnson.
Gloria. Yeah, there you go, Gloria Johnson.
Yes.
See, what happened is that there were these 3 Tennessee legislators, and they say they hijacked the session, and they were out of order because they wanted to talk about gun violence. And Tennessee is apparently one of the least strict gun states in the country. So they wanted to say that there had to be a change in the policies and the procedures and everything with gun violence. So as they were standing there stating their case, they ended up ejecting them, and not only ejecting them, they expelled on the spot the 2 gentlemen, which was Justin Pearson, Justin Jones. But the Gloria lady, which stood with them the whole time, she wasn't expelled.
And let's be clear, the Justins were black.
Black in the
The Gloria, Miss Gloria,
is a
was
60-year-old white lady.
white.
So you're looking at 2 26-year-old men that's in a position that they're not supposed to be in, because both of them represent 2 of the biggest cities in
Nashville
Memphis.
and Knoxville, right?
No, Nashville and Memphis.
Okay.
So both of them represent 2 of the biggest cities in Tennessee. And then on top of that, they're young, and they're in the midst of 60 and 50-year-old old white men.
Mm-hmm.
And then hold on, let's not get it twisted. It was some brothers and sisters in there too.
Right.
Yeah.
And they got expelled by every last one of them.
Right.
Not even their own stood up with them.
Right. Right.
So I mean, you have to understand this is, and it's major because it's simple fact. Once again, is a showing that we won't even stick with our own kind when we know they are in the right.
Yeah.
well, and
But-
this. Go ahead, B.
Good. Doug.
No, I just was going to say there's so much more to this because prior to this particular event, they were already on the radar. These were already guys that were coming out saying, we are different, we are other than, and we are sick of people pushing stuff under the rug. We are here for change. And so they are standing there with their fashion, I'll say their fashion statements.
Because one has dreads or had dreads.
Well, the afro in itself,
Yes.
Yeah.
or when they raise a fist, etc., or even the one that wore a daishiki, it was just in February that he was in trouble. I think it was
That was-
Jones
Yes.
that was in trouble for wearing the daishiki. So it's like you coming on this particular floor with everybody else wearing these conservative suits and ties, and then here you come rocking a daishiki for real,
Right.
The
And,
audacity of you.
the audacity.
Right.
And so they're already looked at in a different way.
Right.
And they don't really
But
care.
here's one and if y'all pay attention and watch all the courts and everything that they going through, these two brothers are very well spoken.
Yes.
They are.
I mean, eating them up, and they really just doing everything, but no, they ain't even through the kitchen sink at these
Well,
brothers.
they showing people who they are.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
it's kind of
and
like
they exposing them.
it's kind of like when Obama came to the table and people were so shocked at the way he actually spoke. And it's the same way with these young men.
Yes.
Because Jones, he graduated from Fisk and he also attended the Divinity College. And so, his record speaks, his education
Absolutely.
Speaks for
itself.
Absolutely.
And so,
But-
they have to deal with it.
But and I know we're going to
It's
talk about
scary.
this tomorrow and have a conversation. What looks good to some people is actually bad to some other people because the Tennessee legislature, let's be honest, by law, by what they're putting in precedence, they had the right. They had the right. So
Yes.
just because it's right, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. You know what I'm saying? But they have the right, and they keep boiling it down to it wasn't what they were saying. It was the order that they violated. So
Man, they violate
well,
the order.
But listen, but isn't it time for that? Isn't it time for
not
that?
disagreeing.
Because how many
I'm not
times?
disagreeing.
All I'm saying is, how many times are we hearing the news reporters come on and talk to us about mass shootings? I work in the school system.
Yeah.
I don't want this to continue to go on,
Right.
and you don't change anything. And here, I'm concerned about my doors being locked to my classroom or not.
Yes.
And then all
Yes.
you want to do is be concerned and want to kick somebody out that stands up, that says something that matters.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's time for this.
It is.
Yeah,
And
it
every
is.
single shooting, they stand right up there, a representative, a president, I don't care who it is, and say,
Yes.
we need to make a change.
Yes.
Over and over and over.
Well, see-
And the
over
gun
and
laws
over.
stay the same.
Well,
and then we wonder why we have had 145 mass shootings in the United States already this year, and I'm talking about 2023.
Yeah.
Just-
so
How
Yeah,
many
exactly.
days? How many days
Well,
are we in to
well,
this year?
but here's-
145.
We're not
Yeah.
halfway through.
no, we're not. But here's the funny part about it is the NRA
Which funds a lot of
that
the
funds a
Tennessee
lot of
legislators.
Yes. So if you messing with my money now I got to get rid of you, and that's what it looked like they're trying to do. And what really it backfired because it's simple fact that the places that they represented, he going back in there.
They actually put Pierce back
They
in
put Pierce back in
his
there,
seat today.
and then Johnson
Jones.
Jones is supposed to have his hearing
He
tomorrow.
already went back.
Did
He's
he go
already
back to that? They both
Oh,
back?
Jones
no.
went back first.
Jones-
Jones
So
is
Pierce-
Pearson.
I got him
Yeah,
back. I
yeah,
got him back.
Pearson is
Jones
goes
is the
to court tomorrow.
ponytail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he's
Pearson
back
goes
today.
to court tomorrow. Well, his constituents is going to put him back in tomorrow.
Well, they asked
a special
Gloria.
hearing.
They asked Gloria,
Yeah, I seen that.
they said, just, why do you think that you didn't get expelled? And she said, well, I think it's pretty clear. I'm a 60-year-old
White woman.
white woman, and they are my black counterparts. And she said, basically the same thing that we're saying. Like this, it's time for people to believe in this. So
Absolutely.
I don't know what they expected her to say, but she basically said it's pretty clear. It's because I'm white. But like we're all saying, I mean, we only have a few minutes left, so we can't talk all about gun control. But there are an estimated, I found, almost 400 million guns that are owned by civilians in the United States.
Yes. And
Where does gun control even start? Do you say, okay, everybody bring your 400 million guns?
Right.
Like, what do we even do? What is
And
the
then,
solution?
Well,
and
I
then listen what you just said, and that's a big number. But then think about this other number: 24.6 million of them are those AR-15 assault semi. Yes.
A lot
now
of
come
damage in
on.
a little bit of time.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's a
Look how
rifle.
many people
So
on
here's the funny part. You know, like in the state of Indiana, you can carry a rifle with no license.
That's
With-
pretty much every state. You
yeah.
can carry a
So
rifle
that's
without a
considered
license.
a rifle. So at some point, we need to understand or sit back and say, what are we doing to control? Because
Nothing.
here's the biggest problem. It's easier for me to go get a gun right now than me finding a Black history book in the library.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
And that's purposeful. That is on purpose.
That's
That's
nuts
on
right
point.
there.
That is
That's
on
on point.
purpose.
Oh, that's on
I'm just
point.
saying. You would rather
That's sad.
take books off the shelf
Yeah.
that talks about critical race theory than take the guns out of the streets.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
replacing the books with the guns on the library shelf, basically, and saying
Pretty
that
much.
saying that it's fine. The girl,
Take one.
the girl that shot up the Covenant School, for example, who was the art major and the art student and this and that from a church family. She had 7 guns hidden, 7 guns, and nobody even knew. Like they found out she took some kind of a training somewhere. Her parents didn't know. Nobody knew. Like
How
And
do
that's
you
why-
not know what
how
your
do-
child doing?
Simple.
That's what I'm trying to
not
say.
my house.
mean,
Oh, I'm gonna tell you,
Not my house.
it ain't got to the point where parents and we are so busy trying to chase that bag than chase our child.
You need to be looking in your kid's bag.
Exactly. So
Chase that bag.
sometimes you
See
have
what's
to.
in it.
Sometimes you got to put that bag down
Yes.
that you chasing, and like you said, pick up your child's bag
Yeah.
or being all in your child business.
That's right.
And she was in her 20s, but these guns were hidden in their house. Like she still lived with them. They were hidden in the garage, all over the place.
And so guess what?
Like I said, it's that easy.
And so it's so much deeper than even what we're talking about. And so tomorrow, and so we can go a little bit deeper with why is this happening now? And why are there so many young people? And one of the reasons is because the parents have decided they were going to be self-made at some point in religion and the Christianity or whichever faith, morals, values were pushed aside. And so this is the product, and this is what happens when you live in a nation that's dark and void
Yeah.
of God.
Yeah.
And morals.
And like we said, we have to get to the root, because you can take away this, you can take away that. If you take away guns, they're going to blow the school up with a bomb. If you take away, so it's the root of what's making these
That's
people do
right.
this. It's not the tool that they pick up and do it with.
That's right.
There's something. When I was in school, when we were in school, we didn't have shooter drills. We didn't work
Right.
There's something happening.
That's right. It's something happening, and we need to talk about it, and we need to be real and need to be transparent about it. It's easy to blame everything on mental health or the lack of mental health.
Well,
It's
I'm-
easy to go that
I'm
route
gonna
than
go
to call
another route
it,
with you real
call
quick.
it what it is.
I'm gonna go another route with you, Dr. V, and it's just real. Keep it 100. When it happens in a certain area, and the same thing that's been happening in a regular community school, you put up metal
Metal
detectors,
detectors.
you put up all this extracurricular stuff,
Right.
but you go out on this side of the tracks. Oh, it had never happened out here.
And that's what
it had
happened.
never happened out
That's what- exactly.
And 15 students get murdered, plus a teacher. And you got all these metal detectors over here, and not one soul got a gun going through that metal
Yep.
detector.
Yep.
But it is what it is.
Yep. And we got to do something. Our babies are dying, and your babies are killing them. I mean, babies are killing babies.
Right.
So we want to thank you for joining us. We could talk about this all night. One thing we do at Neutral Voices is we do talk about things that are difficult to talk about, and we may not all agree. You may not agree, but these are things. It's past the point of needing to talk about this. I mean, this is very serious. So thank you for joining us. We do ask that you join us tomorrow as we dig deeper into good and evil. And E, as we always say, as we're finishing off the evening,
Always protect your mind.
thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow.